Okay. So now what year are we in?
We're still in 44.
1944. Okay, you've gone through all your training, and you're a gunner.
I ended up on a 90 millimeter aircraft gun as a loader.
A loader. Okay.
Pete Christensen was the gunner.
Okay.
And we landed on the island of Tinian, which had been pretty well secured, and we were there as a security group. They were building the B-29 base, which later the B-29s would fly all the way to Tokyo and bomb Japan. And we stayed there. I don't remember what day it was on Tinian, but it was in 1945 in March, I believe, February. We got word that we was going to make a landing at Okinawa. And so from Tinian, we boarded the LST-187, and we sailed to the Ryukas Islands at Okinawa. And on April Fool's Sunday, Easter Sunday, Okinawa was, the attack was, or let me see what word I use. Can't think of the word. Invaded, the U.S. invaded the island of Okinawa. And the 1st Marine Division went in at what was known as Buckner Bay, and part of them landed at the beach at Yantan Airfield, and there was no casualties. Went across the island. Then it was, we dug in. I remember digging the foxholes. We dug in foxholes, and then it was the second night, I think, when we began being strafed by Jap Zeros and bombers dropping bombs, and we were dug in near golly, can't think of the name of that little village.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you're in your foxhole this whole time?
we were in a foxhole, and the anti-aircraft guns were brought in, and we dug gun pits and set up the 90 millimeters and filled the gun bays with 90 millimeter shells. And then I believe it was the 4th night on Okinawa that the Japs flew in bombers dropping white phosphorus bombs and other bombs, strafing with the fighter planes. And it was a horrible night. One of the bombs hit the little village of Naha, that's where we were, Naha, N-A-H-A. And a lot of Okinawan civilians got killed. They were screaming and hollering, men, women, and children. And the straw roof huts caught a fire.
Mm.
And with so many, can't think of the name of them bullets now, that illuminate. And our gun, I remember, was gun 1, a B battery. We run 96 rounds through gun 1 at the bombers that were flying in. When the other guns jammed, and
So did your gun shoot any planes down?
Oh yeah, yeah. We shot at one that flew, thought it was going to get away, but after it came in from the north, and we finally shot it down as it went over us to the south. But there was more that were hit during the attack.
Hmm. Were any of your people hit around you?
The gunner standing by me was hit, and his leg was hanging by its leaders on each side. And it was a Japanese .50 caliber metallic bullet that exploded.
Hmm.
Let me see. There was a fuse cutter that was hit, clipped him on his nose, a piece of shrapnel. And that is the only two, although that is the only place that I can think of that I'm carrying a piece of metallic metal in my right flank.
You've got a piece of metal in your right flank.
Mm-hmm.
That you got from that particular battle? Or the...
Well, I don't know, because the civilian, it was a Navy doctor, Dr. Wolf in Wharton, when he operated on me in 1970, I believe it was 1970 or 77, found this metallic metal in my right flank, which I still have.
And you didn't know you had it?
I didn't know I had it.
But you think you probably got it then?
That's the only time that I can think of that I got a piece of metal hit.
Mm.
And so then after the bombing quit in the latter part of April, then we were assigned to the infantry.
Mm-hmm.
Because they no longer, I guess, needed 90mm anti-aircraft. It was mostly artillery and mortar shells being used. The ships were blasting the island. I had a good friend, went to school with, in Idaho, and he was in the 1st Marine Division, the 7th Regiment, George Chancey Jr., and he got hit by a sniper on May the 14th above his right eye on Sugarloaf Hill, and he laid behind the lines for 7 days. It was the 1st day of June, I believe, when they were able to get him. and brought him to the cemetery on a poncho, wrapped in a poncho. And then I had another good buddy that was in the Navy, and he was on the Franklin aircraft carrier, and the Jap Zero hit the stack in the middle of the Franklin, and he died on the Franklin.
Who was that?
Elwood Bebrick from Burr, Borden County. And then when the war ended, we couldn't believe it. We thought we was going to Tokyo or some of the islands, the 1st Marine Division. But instead, I can't think of the commander that was in charge. He was in charge at Iwo Jima, and he led us into the occupational duty in northern China. We left right after the big typhoon that hit the northern part of Okinawa. And we landed at Tangkou, China.
When was this?
This was in 45. It was, I think we left the last day of September, I'm not sure. And we landed in Tangkou, northern China, and our regiment, the 1st Marine Division, 5th Regiment, orders was to go to Peking, China, to disarm the Japs. And so our regiment ended up in Peking, and I stayed there till April. I don't remember, one of the last days in April. And I think we arrived in San Diego the 1st or 2nd day of May. And I was discharged the 9th day of May. Blessed to get to come back to Fort Bend County.
Very good.